Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the kind of more bigger topics that's been floating around throughout these past few days, which is more so in regards now to the Reddit blackout. Now, for some reason you guys don't necessarily know what Reddit is, it's just another really big social media website. I'm sure a lot of you guys might be familiar with it. Kind of think in a similar vein of like just a really big public forum where there's a bunch of little subsections and subcategories of different various things that you may go and find that are niche that you guys can go and utilize to, well, talk with other folks or submit your content or whatever it might be. A good example for this one too is like, say you guys know for me, I'm a big Twitch streamer, so when it comes to that type of stuff for streaming, which I love to go and do, is that you go on like say a live stream fails, which is basically just like where you have all the funny clips and funny moments that happen over there. Or as well, they have something like an r/Twitch, which basically is like a subreddit mainly specifically for Twitch, and other various things too as well for like science or philosophy or real estate or whatever you might go be into. There's usually a somewhat small subsection of forums available for you to go and check out and see. Now, Reddit is one of the more popular websites out there and has kind of been in the news quite a bit these past few days especially. And now this drama's kind of been ramping up because I'm going to talk about some of these things that the Reddit CEO even brought up today, but it's almost going to kind of explain like what's going on, why it's a big deal, and everything else in between. So if you guys will stay tuned, relax, and enjoy. If you guys want to, make sure you guys are subscribed or give me your thoughts and comments down below too as well, because I love to go and hear them. And let's go and dive into the news itself. Or if you guys are bored, go swing by the Twitch stream. It'll be linked down below. So in case you guys are kind of curious on this, right now, while a very, very large majority of Reddits are actually taken down. So a good example for one of the things I mentioned over here, such as live streaming fails, is basically right now is you cannot access the community. So if you guys basically go to the URL and try to type it on in or join the community itself, you cannot even see anything. There's no submissions available. There's no post available. There's literally nothing available at all. And this is actually the same case for many, many, many really big subreddits with multiple different types of members. Like we're talking million plus members, a lot of different communities right now. I think there's thousands upon thousands of individual specific forums that are all technically taken out as of right this second. And this is because right now everyone is protesting. So a lot of these big people such as moderators on these things, and this is the kind of reason why it's even shut down in the first place, basically have lost access to a lot of various other APIs that are available from the website. Now, if you guys can maybe remember a big drama when it came to Twitter, a lot of really big like bots and botting programs were not able to access or use the API for Twitter, and that basically went and shut down a lot of various other third-party apps or websites or companies that are basically using the APIs to go and help the user experience. Now, this is a little bit of a bigger issue too, I would go and say, because something like this is affecting both the moderators for these communities, but as well also the general user base. A good example is like that there's a thing called an automod. So I'm sure you guys have seen like either custom bots or API bots or whatever. Automod for Reddit is essentially like a thing that's probably taking care of like 90% of all the moderation that needs to be done on these various sources. So a good example is, let's say someone goes and just posts a pure spam link or an inappropriate link, whatever it might go and be. Typically you can go in and set up all these protocols for the APIs of, well, why this happens. Like I think a good example over here is shown. Right now, so the APIs over here are actually have to go start being charged for these commercial access. So Reddit is soon going to be charged for commercial access to its API or application programming interface, which several third-party developers rely on to power their own Reddit-based apps. So this could be maybe mobile apps, maybe it could be people like running emails, or maybe things even like an Imager type style thing, or anything else in between. These apps are often better, faster, and have more features than Reddit's own as well. Reddit is also cutting out a lot of these explicit contents too often these third-party user interface apps entirely, while still allowing it on the official app. So basically trying to just go and either, number one, funnel more actual access to the actual main app itself, but as well also taking away a lot of these really third-party things, such as like better Reddit, which would make the user experience better, or allow to change background colors, or use things better for mod tools and stuff like that. They go and say that most of their services or their API will not be affected, and that the non-commercial tools will help the moderators won't be changed. Reddit is also rolling on its own moderator tools to replace what they'll be likely be losing on these API changes once they're implemented. So a good example is that they're trying to go and say, hey, it's going to be fine, we'll try to make it better and use our own self-service stuff, but a lot of these things are already kind of implemented or set up, and these moderators are usually not paid people. Typically for really big forums, like say like a thing that have millions of users every single day, a lot of those places would be paid people, because those forums would be making money off of ads or subscribers or patrons or whatever, and at that point it's like fine. Like it's a job. You have to put in your time and effort. It works. But right now, a lot of Reddit stuff is all free people, free moderators who are doing this on their own free experience, and they just do not have the time to go and patrol through thousands of posts every day. And that's where a lot of these big subreddits are now complaining about this, where they don't want to have to go pay money to utilize something that basically Reddit should be taking advantage of. All these small individual communities are what make people come to Reddit to submit content, to go and read content, make comments on content, and that's how Reddit makes money, by putting in servicing ads or selling things like Reddit Gold, or as well doing things like now NFTs, etc., for profitable margins. And this is kind of a big deal because Reddit also wants to IPO. Basically make it go to like a public company so they can go and sell the stock, sell like their actual ownership of the website, and maybe try to turn into a profitable company over time. But that's a big thing. Like one big example over here was that someone was going to be charged $20 million to have access to the API for Reddit. And that's apparently how much is like way much more money than they're actually pulling in the first place too as well. And it just is a rough deal. And at the same point, they said they're going to have to shut down because they just cannot go and afford it. So it goes to show that a lot of these Reddit things are just basically being wiped out because they just cannot afford this type of stuff. And that's why I went crazy. That's kind of led to like a pretty big blackout because a lot of these moderators, once again, are not being paid to do this. They do not support this. They do not support the decision that Reddit's trying to go in these overall routes. And it kind of seems kind of makes sense because right now, even as of like these past like few hours, the Reddit CEO himself tells employees that the subreddit blackout will just be done. Like, who cares? It'll pass over time. They go and say, I'm sorry to say this, but please be mindful of wearing Reddit gear in public, CEO Steve Huffman says in an internal memo. Some folks are really upset, and we don't want you to be the object of their frustrations. And they obviously go and see these issues. They see these deals. They see all this stuff that's going on that the overall community does not approve of. And this is typically what websites go and lose. Like, yeah, you can still go have a pretty active user base, but there's been a lot of really big out there websites that do on many occasions completely shut down to the point where like the users will migrate somewhere else if they're not really happy with the website or the changes or everything else in between. And that's a big deal right now because it looks like the Reddit CEO just does not care. Now, some of these big executives also may not just fully care because if they're going to be IPOing soon, aka going public, so their equity would be worth money, they may just be like, whatever. We're going to go public. I'm going to go and sell my Reddit stock for a few $1 million. And then you want to know what? This is all your problem. It's like whoever wants to buy it or whoever has the stock, I'm okay because I already sold and made $5 million. I'm set for life and I can go and dip out and do whatever. Or as well, I'll just go and sit here for the next 3 years. I'll collect my salary and kind of go from there too as well. But it's kind of crazy because that doesn't seem like they're doing anything. They've said as of right now, over 8,000 Reddit communities have gone dark in protest to or similar sense like this where you literally just cannot go and even see them. You can't even go on the page itself. You can still go on the normal Reddit itself in general, such as like some of the big major ones, such as like, r/personal finance or Ask Reddit are still out there. But one of the bigger things to know is like a lot of these niche communities are, well, not just showing up. They're not allowing it. They don't want it to be there in the first place. I was going to say the blackout hasn't had any significant revenue impact, although once again, it's only been like 2 days. So typically, if you want to maintain a revenue impact and you want to try to go and actually stick it to the man, you got to go and stick with it. It was meant to only be like a 1 day massive protest, but it does kind of seem with how like, well, kind of somewhat pompous the CEO is reacting. They just do not want to interact with us anymore. As there's a lot of noise on this one, among the noisiest we've seen. Please know that our teams are on it, and like the blowups on Reddit, this one will pass as well. We absolutely must ship what we said we would. The only long-term solution is improving our product, and in the short term, we have a few upcoming critical mod tools launches that we need to mail. So once again, they're just trying their best to go and figure out the best solution they possibly can by using their own Reddit-based sources and getting rid of things like AutoMod and other third-party apps and programs that people have kind of grown to use. And this is like a really big slap in the face because a lot of these are fan-made and community-made. Like a lot of these things are not Reddit being like, oh my god, everyone go to r/gaming to go talk about games. I mean, maybe on the front page, possibly, but more so think about the more niche type of topics and niche type of communities that people utilize on Reddit. And a lot of these different times do as well. It sucks because these are things that are homegrown. These are communities that had no influence on outside sources, and they just kind of grew from a collective of like either nerdy or just generally like-minded folks that really enjoy the idea of, say, let's say knitting or whatever it might go and be. Maybe frisbee golf, you never know. And these are all homegrown type of unique communities that were not promoted by Reddit themselves. So this is basically the community that pays the bills and makes the content and submits the content, while Reddit's just the big website that hosts it all and kind of has like an centralized forum. obviously people are upset. It's like the person who goes and draws the picture and then they try to go and sell it at a museum, and the museum basically goes and shuts it all down. They basically can't let people go in your room to even go and sell in the first place. So at that point, you're like, why am I even here? I can pretty much go and submit my content and my painting anywhere else. So it kind of goes and kind of shows that a lot of Reddit stuff is kind of getting heated. A lot of folks are curious on what's going on. A lot of folks are still getting upset right now. A lot of big issues right now with basically Google searches, because a lot of Reddit questions have shown up with answers and the sources and stuff like that for people to go and browse through. But right now, it does kind of seem like a lot of folks are just not really sure what's going to happen with the future of Reddit, and it doesn't seem like Reddit's trying to get out of this. And this actually seems like a bigger issue than most people think, because it's also, as it goes on longer, is kind of blocking out things, like I said, like Google search, which is really, really rough. Or as well, things like this blackout too, maybe people just necessarily won't ever want to come back. Maybe people might start migrating. This might be one of those times where someone makes a brand new website and a lot of folks move on over. That is on the somewhat unlikely side, depending on how Reddit reacts to this, but right now people are not happy, and this is actually going a little bit, becoming bigger than we expected. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. Have you guys been affected by the Reddit subreddits being taken down? Do you guys support Reddit? Do you guys support the actual communities? Let me know down below. If you guys are bored, come by the Twitch and Twitter down below as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, and we'll see you guys up on the next one.